Okay. Well, inferential statistics define as follows. With inferential statistics is a field of statistics that uses analytical tools for drawing conclusion about a population by examining random sampling. Now, if you can see the new word which is now appeared here is random sampling. It means that it takes us into a new view. How do we select the sample within the population? So the goal of inferential statistics is to make a generalization about a population. In inferential statistics, statistics is taken from a sample data, sample mean, and that used to make inferentials about the population parameters. So the population mean, to understand, for example, if you need to study about a population, maybe based on the level of poverty, to see whether a majority of the population lives in poverty, whatsoever. In the inferential statistics, it also helps to develop a good understanding of the population data by analyzing the samples obtained from it. Still here, I still emphasize that the samples is the representative of the population. So using the inferentials, they can manipulate the data in using different kind of tools to understand the sample. And that sample that they analyze represent the entire population. And that's how they reach to make a final generalization about the population that's being studied. Inferential statistics also, it helps in making generalization about the population by using various analytic tools. You may ask what type of tools are being used in inferential statistics to measure the population, the sample population. And that's what exactly that brought us to. So some of the important methods that are being used, when I say about some, it means that there are various methods. However, at the moment we are going to discuss some few of them, which I'm going to mention. The first one is simple random sampling. In doing research, you basically choose what type of method of measurement you're going to use. How are you going to select your audience or your respondents? So, and this is defined using the inferential statistics, and they use this tool of simple random sampling to select the sample population that will be either interviewed, and it represents the entire population. So here in the graph, you'll be able to see that population 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 to 12 is the existing population. Now, how do you select? Okay, by randomly selecting, picking from the population. Okay, you pick 1, you pick 3, you pick 4. That's randomly selected according to this arrangement here that we see in the box here. And that you take the sample that represents the entire population. And then, by the way, simple random sampling is the most easiest method of selecting the sample. But you'll be also able to see other methods that are used in selecting the sample. Secondly, we are using stratified sampling, basically a strata. So stratified random sampling samples, it involves the divisions of a population into smaller subgroups known as strata. Given, for example, you have a big population of more than 1 million, but then you're not going to go and interview the whole population of 1 million. But then you have to break down the population in terms of, you break them into small subgroups. For example, if you need to study a population that's living in a region, definitely you have to break them based on districts. In a district, you have now to break them into either the counties. After the county, you break them up to the payams, the county. From the county, you break them up to the payam up to the boma. So by doing this, you can be able now to go and select representative from each of these subgroups that you have that you have divided, and they become a strata where they represent the entire population in an interview. Another example also, in a big population, you can either do a segmentation of the population based on their age or based on their gender, based on their race, a relevant sample that is used for your test that represent the entire population. Another method sampling is cluster sampling. So in a cluster sampling, it is select clusters. You know, people or the population is grouped into different kind of clusters. So it depends on how or the interest of the researcher to divide the people into different clusters, like youth clusters, women clusters, politicians, or you need to get a cluster of the schools, cluster of primary schools, secondary schools, and then you group them, or class of doctors. Then based on that now, you can be able now to go into each of these groups and then interview them. Those people who are selected in a different kind of cluster, they represent the entire population. What I'm saying here, especially in the cluster, the people are clustered based on if you need to base on the qualifications or the education level is the most easiest, so that now you know what the education people say and what the non-educated people say, and that represents the entire population. It's a nice method that we use in the inferential statistics. Another method for getting a sample population is systematic sampling technique. So in a systematic sample technique, it is more easy, and I want to use the simplest example. If you need to use a systematic sampling, it's just like take an observation. You want to take an observation sitting on the street or standing on the street, and then you want to count how many red cars you have to pass. Then you have to count in every 5 cars how many red cars do you see. Or you're just sitting doing an observation in a classroom. So you go systematic. For example, if you need to select from primary 1 to primary 5, then you go systematic. In primary 1, I need 5 people. In primary 2, I need 2 people. In 5, 5, 5, 5, and then you go. That's systematic. Or if you want to do regional, then you say, okay, now from the entire region, which is represented by district, and then the districts, it goes down to the county, and then it goes down to the village. Then you say, okay, from each village, I want 2 representatives. You do it systematically through the arrangement of the population based on the clusters. There are types of inferential statistics, and these are classified into 2. Again, there are hypothesis testing and regression analysis. So we're going to look into details each of these. Let's see the hypothesis testing. Under the hypothesis testing, the use of confidence intervals to test the parameters of a population is given. Either we use z-test, you can select to use z-test, and you can use f-test, you can use t-test, or you can use ANOVA test. So for you to gain an understanding of hypothesis, I just want to give a simple example. You're doing a research, and you're researching about violence in a society or in a given community caused by youths. Why youths are violent in our society? And the hypothesis, okay, once you roll out the variables that causes violence, definitely we can identify that the use of drugs by youths makes them violent, but that's our assumption. Alcohol abuse by the youths can cause them to become violent. Peer influence at the same time also can make them to become what? Violent. The question is, does alcohol or drugs or peer influence makes the youth to become violent? So each of these corresponding as hypothesis, which means that we'll be measuring the hypothesis 1, which is alcohol abuse causes the youth to become violent. That's hypothesis 2. And hypothesis 3, peer influence can also causes the youth to become violent in the community. So in using this, you can either choose to use Z-test, F-test, T-test, or ANOVA. And in details, I think lately we'll be able to discuss this into detail, but what I'm giving you an overview. So this is basically how you deal with the hypothesis test. The next slide, in the hypothesis test, we can either accept our null hypothesis or we can reject our null hypothesis. In the acceptance region is given in the diagram, as you may see. But this one in details, we can be able to give you a clear analysis. What is acceptance region? What does it mean? And what does it mean by rejection? And what does it mean by rejection? So this will give you a clue. But for the time being, I just need to give you an overview of this type of test so that you get to know what we use. Here you have two-tailed test, one-tailed test, where you have null hypothesis, which can be rejected or it can be accepted based on your research design to understand about certain phenomena. Next is regression analysis. So in the regression analysis, it includes linear regression, nominal regression, logistical regression, ordinal regression. And I think in our study, mainly we will cover linear regression. In a regression, actually, it is used to predict certain phenomena or forecasting certain phenomena to see what depends on what causes what, and that will help us to draw a conclusion or generalization about a sample population that is in the study. All right, so I think this is how it's done. Normally, it's y and x, so y variable depends on x, and x is independent. So depending on the type of measure which you are taking, and then it's plotted on the scattered diagram as you see in the picture, and a line is drawn. That's a line of best fit. So where if points will fall below and points will fall below and above the line, and it has different kind of interpretation which I don't want to dive into, but I just need to show you that this is a scattered diagram with linear regression, and when it comes now to the discussion about the topic, I'll be able to give you into details on how this thing is plotted and the interpretation of each of these points, so that you get to understand how we interpret the results of linear regression in the statistical analysis. The next slide we'll discuss about the application of statistics. Where do we apply statistics? So when we apply statistics, as you already know that the statistics is a mathematical science where it involves a continuous involvement of collection of data, analysis, and the interpretation of data in the following discipline. Actuarial science. In this discipline, it applies mathematics and the statistical methods to assess risk in the insurance and financial industries. You should be aware of what assessing of risk and in relation to financial industry. So actuarial sciences, it helps us to collect data where we can do a risk analysis. We can be able to run a risk analysis, and this risk analysis will help decision-making process in an organization, especially in the financial industry. Let's talk about the banking, in the banking sector, and those who are dealing in loans, those who are dealing in the financial ventures. So they use those data that's statistically collected to draw decisions that would help them to project the future plans about investments. It also helps shape them to earn profits, because if they don't rely on the data which is collected and be able to make accurate decisions, then definitely they may run without a profit in the business. And what does it mean? If your company is running without a profit, it means that company is already is dead. And next time you find yourself out of the market. The astro statistics is a discipline that applies statistical analysis to the understanding of astronomical data. The astronauts, people who travel to the space, they use these statistics to understand about the weather condition, to understand about the resistance of wind, and so that it helps them to manufacture materials or machines or engines that can be able to penetrate those kind of natural resistance in the space, and also to help them to understand the rotation of the Earth. And there are very many things in astronomy, how they use it, those data of statistics. But purely they're using those data that are collected statistically to shape the industry of astronomy so that they can be able to further their invention. Biostatistics. And biostatistics is a branch of biology that studies biological phenomena and observations by means of statistical analysis, and includes medical statistics. So this entirely deals with data that are collected either in hospitals or in clinics or for the entire population in a country or a nation. And high decisions are reached based on the available data that are biologically collected, so that it helps decision making by either governments or an organization about a given population. Business analytics, as you know, of recent development in technology and the competition across the globe of a business, they rely basically on business analytics, data, big data that is being collected and provide an insight and understanding of business performance and opportunities. There are a lot of analysis that is taking place. For example, I try to give you, everyone now uses Facebook. Everyone uses Facebook. So smart, you chat and they do everything. Now, I as a businessman, if I need to ask Facebook to give me an advertisement in Juba, and I want Facebook to give me, to reach this information to young people between the age of 20 and 30, that is in Juba. I tell you, and I wanted Facebook to reach at least 5 million. I tell you, Facebook can reach and do for you all that advertisement smartly. You'll just see something, message come to your phone, tap it, like it, and do that. That is the use of business analytics, using of big data. And if you ask yourself, how are some of these big companies like Amazon, like Alibaba, how are they become more successful in the world? They become more successful in the world because of business analytics. They analyze the different kind of data about their customers, and they better understand needs of customer by region, by country. So it makes them easy in their manufacturing process and distribution. So that's why it's very important that statistics are applied in these fields to help shape the industries. So this takes us to the next point of discussion, and that is what are the importance of statistics in the following fields. A business. How do we as a business people use statistics? Do you make sales? What do you do with the customer? Do you collect their information? Do you know what are their demands? How often do the same customer come to you? Okay, what are their buying behaviors? What are their income level? So business uses statistics. They use statistics, or statistics help business to be able to understand their customers in that way, and that will help them to provide the goods efficiently to them. In economics, in economics deals with the social welfare of the population in a given country. How do we know that the country is rich or the country has high poverty? It's through the statistics which you analyze. So statistics help us to understand whether in this economy, the economy is being led by women or by men, or the economy is poorly performing because we are not producing, or the economy is not performing because young people are not employed, there's high rate of unemployment, or the standard of living has improved over the years. So that's the work of the statistics in the economy. So in the mathematics, you know what is used. I don't dive into that. So that one is do a lot of research there. In the banking sector, statistics is very important. How do we know how many people are banking with us? How do you know what are the banking behaviors of the population? That will now shape the business of the bank to be able to embark more on their sales and marketing efforts to give awareness to the people about the importance of the bank so that they can be able to bring their money. And you can also be able to understand your customers based on their banking behaviors. How often do they withdraw? How long do they keep their money in their accounts? Whatever accounts do they normally open? Current account, saving account, and individually, do they borrow loans or they don't borrow loans? A bank can also be able to understand what exchange rate do they have to charge the population that is affordable for the customers to be able to what? To be able to pay back with the interest. So these are different dynamics in the importance of statistics. In state management, for example, in a local government, a municipality, how do you know how many jobs you're creating? How do you know how many male and female? How do you know how many people are given birth? How do you know the death rate that happens? How do you know how many old people? How do you know how many foreigners are coming in and going out? This is by use of statistics, and that's why it's very important in the state management. In accounting and auditing, how do you know how much transaction you have made during the year, how much transaction you have made over the years, and how much profit you have gained over the years, and how much losses you have made during the year? All this by use of statistics. And the performance of how much is being got as a taxes, paid as a taxes, and how much is being got as a net profit. So all this by use of statistics for us to know. In natural sciences, we globally, there's issue to do with the climate change, and the entire world is made aware about the changes in the climate, rise in temperatures, the seas are becoming warm. Then the question is, how do they know? It's by the use of statistics. Now they have predicted that by 2050, temperatures will be between 0.3 to 0.6. How do they know it? They predicted through use of statistics. And that's how statistics help to shape the natural sciences to be able to predict about natural calamities that is happening. In the social sciences, the study of society, we can be able to understand the society in different dynamics to help us understand how it changes over a certain period is by use of statistics, which is very important for us to know whether that society is productive in terms of giving birth, or they're not productive. Maybe young men, they don't want to marry, and because of that, they don't expect the younger population to come. Now people are growing old. This one can also be very important by the use of statistics that help us to do that. In astronomy, as I said before, in astronomy, the astronauts who travel to the space uses statistics, they collect different kind of statistics about the climate, about the weather, about various tools that can be able to resist the heat in the space, and so many things that they check and they collect the information that are kept, and they help to shape the decision that they make in the astronomy industry. Okay, we have learned about statistics, It's been defined, and we have learned that statistics is divided into two, which is the descriptive and then inferential statistics. And we have discussed that descriptive statistics, sample data presentation is done in form of tables, in form of graphs, and in form of charts. In inferential statistics, it deals with the generalization and conclusion of a population using a sample mean. And inferential, it has tools, and some of those tools we are able to point them out. Number one of the tools, we have discussed that it uses different methods of sampling, and we have discussed about simple random sampling, and we have discussed about stratified random sampling. We have discussed about cluster sampling, and we have discussed about systematic sampling. And in terms of inferential test, we have discussed about the hypothesis test. And in hypothesis test, we will also further define it that there are the different kind of tests that you can use for testing a hypothesis, using two-tailed test, using z-test, or using f-test, or using ANOVA. And then, on the other hand, the regression analysis, it has to do with linear regression and logistic analysis. So all this one, we have discussed them, and that shapes you to understand. And when we also discuss about the application and then the importance of statistics in different fields. Here, now we have come to the end, and you should be able now to understand by yourself, and you should be able now to do a revision in the areas of importance of statistics applied to different fields, application of statistics, and descriptive statistics versus inferential statistics. The students will also be made aware that at the end of each unit, you will be given an assignment. And that assignment will qualify you at the end of the course, the whole course, okay? Will qualify you to obtain 40%, which is awarded to you. And then the final examination will be 60%. But for this, I'll be able to share with you your assignment in the platform. And I encourage every student, please, to be doing it and to check the platform, and then so that you do it timely. Questions, comments from students are welcome at any time. Please post it on the platform. And your comments, the answers that are provided will be for entire consumption by every student who is studying this course. Please don't always hesitate. Contact us on the platform so that anything that you do not understand, so that will help us to help you pass this course very well. Thank you for now, and bye-bye.